Hey, this is Corey from Wolfpack Woodcraft, and in today's video we're going to talk about gift ideas. Now, in the past I've always focused on gift ideas that I think people will enjoy. This year I'm going to focus on things that I think people are going to enjoy getting, but that are also helpful, right? As times get harder, as inflation goes up, as it's harder and harder to find mechanics that have time to help, it's hard to find people to work construction and maintenance and electrician and plumbers. As those people stop showing up for work, we have to start doing a lot of that stuff ourselves. And so all of these tools are things that I actually use. They're not all tools, but these are all things that I either use or I really appreciate that I have. And you can probably see the green frog tape here. We're working on our stairs right now, trying to get them all patched up and put together. And so these are all things that I either am currently using or have used or one or the other. One of the things that we'll get off right off the bat is fire extinguishers. These were on sale at Sam's Club. They were also on sale at Fleet Farm and Home Depot, I think, had this 2-pack on sale. And so if you can find them on sale, it's nice to have fire extinguishers, especially if you're doing DIY, right? I don't have 40 years of experience in electrical or I don't have 40 years of experience on anything. I don't have 40 years of experience breathing, but I do things on my own. And when you do things on your own, you sometimes make mistakes and some things can happen. And fire extinguishers are one of those things. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And recently, one of my childhood restaurants, a place I used to go when I was younger, it recently burnt down. It burnt all the way down to the ground, and it's because there was an electrical fire, there was a grease fire. I'm not really sure what caused the fire, but the fire trucks and everybody couldn't get to where they needed to get to right away, and by the time they got there, it was too late. It was too far gone to even worry about anything. And so you don't want that to be your house, right? So have fire extinguishers. Make sure you have what you need to extinguish the fire before it gets out of hand and burns everything to the ground. Next, gloves. These gloves, I use these for everything. I use them for cleaning up messes. I use them for changing my own oil. I use them all the time. If I'm going to be doing anything that my hands can get nasty, dirty, I'll put gloves on. And the other thing that people don't talk about when it comes to these gloves is they help save your tools. You know what I mean? If I'm working in this greasy, oily engine and I have the gloves on, I can take my gloves off, put a new pair on, grab my tool, and my tool's not getting all greasy, nasty, oily, you know. And so having gloves to protect your tools is just as important as having gloves to protect your hands. So that's another one I really like. Speed square. A lot of people have a speed square. If you don't have a speed square, get a speed square. But I like the 12-inch speed square. This isn't something that I use all the time, but when I need it, I'm so glad I have it. We recently put up curtain rods, and being able to measure 3 inches off the windowsill and 9 inches up, and just using this to make sure that everything's plumb and level, and that all of the windows in this room, the curtain rods are the exact same height. You know what I mean? I'm not measuring and trying to finagle. There's a notch right here. There's 3 here. I literally use this. It was fast, efficient, and accurate. Also, I like to use this end as like a straight edge. And so I'll put it on a wall or I'll put it on something. And sometimes with the 6-inch, you'll have something that looks like this. And you'll put the 6-inch on it and it'll be like, oh, it's perfectly flat, but it's not flat. It's like this. There's just 6 inches here. And then when you use the 12-inch, that's when you can see the light shining through. That's when you can see that things aren't flat or it'll start rocking on you. And just the more surface area allows me to see what's flat, what's proud, what's concaved. So I like having the longer surface area, the longer measurements. If I'm cutting a 2x10, using this as a guide with my circular saw, having the 12 inches is nicer than the 6 inches, because at the 6 inches, by the time you get to the end, you're just you don't have enough square to do what you need to do. And when you push on that tip, the leverage can bow this out a little bit. Where when you have the nice hefty, this is heavier too. When you have this on there, you can make nice straight cuts on bigger material. I really like having this 12-inch speed square. And like I said, most people have a 6-inch, but getting them the 12-inch, I think is a really good idea. This is a very cheap, affordable option. This is a flathead screwdriver. Most people see this and they're like, oh, it's a really big flathead screwdriver. I've never used this for screws, like ever. This, I call it a demolition screwdriver. I use this for poking holes and stuff. I use it for, if there is a hole, I can poke inside of it and see what's in there. I use it to pry on things. I use it as a chisel a little bit. I use it to chip at ice. I use it for so many different things. Never screws, but I use this all the time. I'm always using it. Or an outlet. If I have an outlet cover, I'll bang on it with the handle to loosen it up if it was painted or if it's stuck to the wall. I'll use it to kind of bang on it a little bit, and then I can get underneath a corner and pry it out. A good demolition screwdriver is a must-have tool for anyone. Next, S-Wing hammer. S-Wing makes really good hammers. This is a 20-ounce hammer. This is what I use for everything. And what's funny is, every time I use it, it's not a stiletto. Okay, so a stiletto is a very high-end hammer. I have used stilettos. I've never owned a stiletto, but they're nice. They're way nicer than this. If you're going to be using this all day to frame a house or use it a lot, it's hard on the elbow. It's hard on the shoulder. And when you have a stiletto, it's so effortless. It seems like it's so much nicer on your elbow. You're still going to be sore, but it's not going to be that sharp pain. And every time I use it, I'm like, man, I wish it was a stiletto. Well, then we were redoing our deck and we were putting in the joist hangers. So I'm hammering with this, and then Caroline has a cheap, I don't even know where she got it. She probably got it at Walmart for dirt cheap. And it's just a normal claw hammer, and she's using that. And then I let her use this one. She's like, whoa, this one's so nice. And it really taught me that I need to appreciate what I have, because when, like, the way that she looks at this hammer is how I look at the stilettos. You know what I mean? And this will last forever. You don't have to worry about the wood handle breaking. It's a great, solid hammer. Even though people complain about it all the time, you should really appreciate what you have, because it really is a solid hammer. We'll get into more tools later. This is a Walls trimmer. So one of the things that we've been doing recently is Caroline's been cutting my hair. She hasn't recently, but she's been cutting my hair, and this Walls trimmer is color coded. And so on the handle of the trimmer, we got the corded one. I might invest in the cordless one. But on the handle here, it shows you, so if you want a 1-inch, it's light blue. If you want a 3/8, it's dark blue. If you want a 3/16, it's purple. And so it has the colors on the handle, and so when you need something, you can look at what color it is, and then it's easy to find that color in this bin. It also comes with scissors. It came with a like an apron that you wear to keep the hair out of your clothes. It comes with a little brush to help brush the hair off. It comes with a comb, but it's a really nice little trimmer. I use it for my beard sometimes. I haven't shaved or gotten a haircut or anything. I've been sick with the flu, but that being able to cut your own hair at home, because of the pandemic, we couldn't go to the salons, we couldn't go to the Great Clips or anywhere to get a haircut, and so being able to do that ourselves has really come in handy. And I don't know if we're ever even going to go back to Great Clips or any of the hair salons, because it's nice doing it at home. It's nice having a day off, just getting it done in the bathroom and not having to get ready, go to town, do what we need to do. It's nice being able to cut your own hair. Next, what's next? Sanding block. 3M sanding block. You don't need anything fancy. There's a lot of fancy sanding blocks out there. I don't like the sponge sanding blocks because I'm not, again, I don't have 40 years of experience. And so sometimes, like when we're when I'm mudding or I'm doing drywall stuff, I don't wait for it to dry all the way, and I'll put this on there and it'll just gum up instantly. It's just gummed up instantly. And when you use a sponge and you gum it up instantly, you kind of wasted the sponge. Where this, I can just take this piece of sandpaper off, put a new one on. I think it's cheaper replacing these little sandpaper strips. I also don't buy the ones dedicated to this. I buy the sheets, the big sheets, and then I use a knife and I cut along the edge of the sanding block, and I cut out my own sheets for the sanding block. And I prefer this method better. I feel like it's cheaper. I feel like it's nicer because you have a nice sturdy edge, so it gets things flatter, where the sponge can kind of push in and round things off instead of flatten things out. So I like this 3M sander. I have a couple of these. I picked this one because it was the cleanest to show you. Next, electrical. A lot of people have issues with electrical. Get some tools. These tools right here will help you. This is a Klein Tools little light. I'll link all this stuff in the description box down below. But the thing I like about this is, here's a switch. It's green. I put it here. It's red. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's green. It's red. I don't have to take the cap off. I don't have to take anything apart. I don't have to do anything. I can just put this, or I can put it in a receptacle or an outlet, and it'll turn red. And I don't have to take anything apart. I don't have to do anything. I can put it in a socket or next to a light bulb, and it'll turn red. This thing is so nice. You can have it beep, and so instead of turning red, it'll turn red and beep when there's electricity to give you that warning or that indicator. I don't like the beep, but it's just nice having this on hand because you can use it for anything. This is a GB. Klein makes these, Fluke makes these. These plug into a receptacle or an outlet. And the thing that I like about this is it has little lights. It has a red light and 2 orange lights. If the 2 orange lights light up, it's correct. Your outlet works exactly the way it's intended to work. But if there's a different combination of lights, maybe it's because the hot and neutral are reversed, hot and ground are reversed, open hot, open neutral, open ground. There's a different light combinations, and so not only does it tell you it's wrong, because this will tell you there's electricity, right? Yes, it has electricity, or no, it doesn't, but it won't tell you if it's right or wrong. This tells you if it's right or wrong, and it tells you how it's wrong so that you can easily fix it. So I really like this, but this is only for outlets. You have to plug this into a 3-prong outlet. It won't work on a 2-prong outlet. It won't work on a light switch. It won't work on anything else. It'll only work on a 3-prong outlet, or this will work on everything. So I really think you should have both. The other thing that this does, the receptacle tester does, is let's say you put in a new outlet because electrician, it's going to be 6 months before an electrician gets your house, and so you decide to do it yourself. You plug this in, it's correct, okay? But you're not confident that you got everything tight. You're not confident that you did it exactly perfect. You come back a week later and test it again. It's still perfect. Come back a month later, 2 months, 6 months, a year. If it's been good for a whole year, you probably did it right. You know what I mean? But if you're self-conscious or you're not confident in what you're doing, this is a great way of checking, double checking, triple checking, quadruple checking, whatever it takes to help you sleep at night. Because when it comes to electrical issues, they can burn your house down. It is a serious matter. And even if you have an outlet that you haven't used in a long time, you're not sure if it works or not, plugging this in and seeing those 2 orange lights, knowing that it works exactly the way it's intended to work, it's going to do what it's supposed to do, this really is a really great peace of mind. Next we have, alright, let's do this. This is a DeWalt tool. This is a angle drill, and so this can hook up into an impact. So let me show you the problem it solves quick. So if I have if I have to get into a really tight space, this is very large, and then you add a bit on top of that. Now it's even longer, and then you add the screw on top of that. You have to get all of this to fit into a tight little area, right? Well, the problem this solves is you put this in there, you put the bit in here, and the screw. Now you only have this much. It's very small, and you can sneak this into a spot and then use it the way you want to use it. You can go up if you want to go up, and it's way easier to fit into its tight little areas, and you can get your hand behind it and help push and guide. It's just a really nice tool right here, and you can put it, if you don't have a impact driver, you can put it in a drill, and it works in the drill just the same. I have both a drill and an impact driver. If you only can have one, always pick the drill, because the drill can do everything this can, but this can't do everything the drill can. So this thing is really cool. This thing has really saved me a lot of times. Like I said, I redid the curtain rods, and there was one of the brackets was bent, and I couldn't get in there with even a screwdriver. You know, a screwdriver is, that's going to be one of my things. A screwdriver is this long. You know, this is way smaller than that, and it has more torque because you're putting it in a drill, and so it has more torque, it has more leverage. And so this saved me because I was able to get behind that bracket and undo that screw. Our storm door broke, and I was able to get in there where the shock had bent and get screws out. This has saved me a bunch of times. One of the things I want to talk about is the other thing on the list is this Makita set. But this DeWalt angle drill came with a bit kit. There's like a combo thing. It was on sale. These bits, I'm a DeWalt guy. You can see I have lots of DeWalt. I like DeWalt. These are DeWalt. I don't like these as much as I like the Makita ones. They just don't grip as well. They are better than when you buy a container of screws. The screws always comes with a bit for those screws. These are better than those, but they're not as good as these. And so I don't recommend the DeWalt bits. I like this Makita. I don't remember the exact name of these. These aren't the basic ones. These are the upgraded ones. I think they're like XPS. Again, I'll link them in the description box down below. This kit works way better than this kit. I kind of assumed they'd all be the same. They're not. These have little grooves. They're like serrated on the end, and they really grip into that screw, and they don't cam out, and they don't bore the screw as much. And so if I'm using this, I'm using this too, because I have one shot to get in there and not strip out my screw. These Makitas are really good at gripping the screw without boring it out or stripping it out or camming out. I really like this Makita set. I've been using this for years, and like I said, I thought these would be the same. They're not. They are better than junk ones, but they're not as good as these Makita. So that is that. Next, 5-in-1 tool. Now this is actually a painter's tool, but I use it for lots of different things. I don't think I've ever used it for painting actually. But the different tools on here is there's a scraper so you can scrape. But what I like it for is when I've got like trim and molding and floorboards and everything, I can get behind them and pry them up, and it doesn't really damage much of anything. And it is sharp. You got to be careful. It's sharp. But you can get in there and you can pry, or if there's silicone around everything, I can use this point and I can get in behind the trim, behind the windowsills, and I can get that silicone out. And when you're using a razor blade, you got to be real careful not to slip, because you can damage more than just the silicone. Where this, it's easier to control because it's bigger, and I can get in there and just cut around the window, cut around the molding, cut around the trim. So that's what I use it for the most. It also has a nail puller in the middle, and I have used it to pull a couple nails, but it doesn't really work that well as a nail puller. But Caroline uses, she has one just like this somewhere, but she uses hers for painting, and this is for rollers, so you can get all the paint out of the roller, and it's crazy how much paint comes out of that roller. So this is a really handy tool for demolition and for painting, which it's for painting, but I use it for demo. Next is this plier kit. So Caroline and my son both wear prescription glasses. And what this is this is it's a pliers, but it has nylon edges or nylon grips, so it doesn't scratch anything. And so it's smooth nylon, so you can bend and manipulate the glasses without damaging them. And then this one has a nylon on one side, and then it has a cone on the other, so you can really round things. And so my son, his glasses are always getting bent because he's a little kid, and then when he's playing, his glasses just take a beating, you know. And so being able to manipulate them and keep them on his face or bend them back to where they're supposed to be, these have really come in handy. Even Caroline will have her glasses, and there'll be a pressure point giving her a headache. Being able to bend them and relieve those pressure points has really been a nice thing for her. And so I really like these pliers. They come in a set, and they're not that expensive. They do make like expensive ones that are nicer than these, but for as little as I use them, I just bought the cheap ones. Next is shop rags. A lot of people don't use shop rags. A lot of people use those blue shop paper towels, and those work really well. I use both. These I got at Harbor Freight. They're really cheap. They leave red lint everywhere. They're not the best quality, but when you have oil on your hands or you have to clean up a mess and the paper towels just aren't cutting it, the rag makes life so much easier. So I wonder if I can... this one's not so bad. Oh no, there it is. Red string, red lint, red everything. But again, having this and being able to clean up a mess with a dedicated rag makes life much, much easier. And I think there's 50 of them for like $10 or something like that. They were on sale. We had a coupon, but $10 for 50 of them. Use them, throw them away. You're not going to be too upset. Next is wire brushes. Wire brushes come in handy all the time. When you get rust on your tools, being able to you shouldn't use a steel brush. You can use a brass brush. But getting the rust off of tools, cleaning up, we swap out our own tires, and so the rim, cleaning up the rim so that the bead sits nice. Lots of things you can do with brushes. When it comes to cleaning, having that brush to really scrub and the bristles getting deep can really make life easier. If you do your own drywall, if you patch your own holes, having a hock is a good idea. Putting the drywall mud on the hock. It's easier for me to use this than it is anything else, because when you're in that tub, it's hard to get into the corners and everything. Where this, I use all the mud because I have access to all of the mud, and it can really make life a lot easier, especially if I'm using a trowel. I can't get a trowel into that bucket very well, but I can easily use this to do that. So that's a good gift idea. Here they are. And so if I'm using a trowel, I can easily use this to get all the mud off my hock. So a trowel, this is all drywall stuff that we're doing here. This is getting all nasty and gross, so I'll use the wire brush to clean it up. Buckets. 5-gallon buckets, 1-gallon buckets, 5-quart buckets, or the smaller buckets. Having buckets on hand is always a good idea. We're constantly looking for buckets, either for our sink, like we have a leak in our sink or our pipe is clogged and we have to take the P-trap off. You need buckets. We have so many buckets, and we're still, you know, you can store stuff in them. All my drywall stuff goes in this bucket. Now I know where it is. I just grab that bucket, all my drywall stuff's in there. I mix drywall in that bucket, the compound in that bucket. You can never have enough buckets. Screwdriver. Having a screwdriver with multiple bits so you can do multiple things is a great idea. This is a Klein screwdriver set. I like this one because it has all the different bits, and so if I'm taking apart, again, glasses, eyeglasses, I can tighten the little screws, whether they're Phillips or flathead, and some have like really tiny Phillips. That's in here, really tiny flathead. That's in there. I can take apart old phones. I can take apart computers. There's a lot of different tamper-proof bits in here. And the other thing, so this is a number 2 Phillips. This is a number 2 Phillips. You can see that this will fit in to a lot more areas than this big fat one will. And the other thing is it can flip over and it can be extra long. And so I can reach real deep into places and get screws that way. So I really like this Klein screwdriver set. I'm trying to hurry because I don't want this video being forever long. Stanley Fat Max 25 foot. These are my favorite tape measures. I have like 4 of them. I have one in the house, I have one in my tool bags, I have one in the garage, and then I have one that kind of floats around. I don't even know where it is. But Stanley Fat Max is all I buy because they're all the same. If I measure 10 inches on this tape measure and then I go in the garage and I use that one, they're always the same. If you have a different brand, try to stick with that brand. Like if you have a Milwaukee or a DeWalt or some other, a Hart, if you have some other tape measure, try to stick with that tape measure brand so that your measurements are always the same. I have seen some tape measures that are a 1/16 off of this one, and so I always use the Fat Max. Milwaukee box cutter. I really like these box cutters. They're one hand opening. I have the little one and the big one. The big one I keep in my tool bags. The little one I keep around for opening boxes. And you always are holding something. You know, you always have something in your hand. You pick up a knife and you can easily open it, close it. It's safe when it's closed. So I really like these fastback Milwaukee box cutters. Staple gun. This is a manual staple gun. They also make electric ones. This manual one works really good. This is a Surebonder, I don't know. But the what I use this for is the run on the stairs. You can get 1/2-inch staples for this, and you can put carpet down. You can use it for carpeting. The couch, when the couch falls apart because it's made out of OSB, I can buy plywood or 2x4s and I can put it together. Well, the bottom's all fabric and the fabric is stapled on. I pull all the staples, I fix what I need to fix, and then I staple that fabric back in place, and so that it's all clean and tidy and looks brand new again. I really like using a staple for furniture particularly. That's what we use it for the most, but you can also use it for carpet. I've installed trim with it. I had trim around a door that I popped some staples into, and then I painted them white, and they're nicer than a screw head or a nail head. Being able to use the staples to hold things in place is sometimes better. Or if you have a wire, stapling the wire is better than putting a screw or a nail right through it. Of course, that's not going to work. So stapling, wires, there's just a lot of really good things you can do with a stapler. Next, this is a Gulu power bank that you can also jump start your vehicle with. This has changed my life. I love this thing. In Minnesota, it gets cold, and when it gets cold, your battery dies. A lot of the times when it's negative 40 degrees outside, your car battery just can't handle it. So we have to jump start our vehicles quite a bit in the winter, and when it's negative 40 degrees out, it's not fun being out there trying to get Caroline to hold her jumper cables on her. Sorry, battery died. But when she's finagling her jumper cables, I'm finagling mine. The cables themselves are freezing, very stiff. It's too much to handle. This makes it so easy. It makes it a one-person job. You don't have to deal with the cables. You don't have to worry about anything touching and creating sparks. You just hook it up, turn it on, go in the vehicle, start it. It's so simple. It's so easy. The other thing is, let's say I forget my headlights on, or Caroline forgets her headlights on. She can just bring me this, and I can be parked on one side of the parking lot. She can be parked on the complete opposite end of the parking lot, and we can still jump each other. We don't need to worry about the cables reaching. I can be nosed into somewhere with cars all around me. I don't have to worry about the cables. I can jump myself from anywhere, or I can jump her anywhere, you know, as long as I can walk there, I can jump start her vehicle. And this, I don't know why I went so long without owning this, and now that I own it, I'm never gonna go without it. If this ever stops working, I'm buying another one that same day. I really like it a lot. Next is a little level. This is a Milwaukee. They make a lot of different ones. I like this one because it's made out of metal, so it holds its shape really well. When you're putting up pictures, when you're doing like curtains or doing different things, just a little level when you're underneath your sink and you need to pitch your pipes so that they drain properly. Just having this little level is really nice to know, to make sure that what you have is level, that needs to be level, or it's offset if it needs to be offset. Just, it's better than to know than to guess. And then last but not least is a work light. These are my favorite work lights. This is a Steelman Pro work light. Again, I will leave links down below to all this stuff. This is my favorite one. The reason it's my favorite one is because it's wireless. It runs about 8 hours on low, which is I think like 400 lumens, and then on high it's 1,000 lumens, and on high it'll only run for about an hour and a half, but high is too high. 1,000 lumens, when you're shining it on a wall or you're shining it on what you're looking at, it's blinding, right? There's a lot of glare, it's too bright. So I always keep it on low, and it can run for 8.5 hours on low. But what's even cooler is the charging cable that comes with it is 15 feet long. And so I can plug this thing in and then 15 feet away have my light, and it charges and works while it's plugged in. And so as you're using it plugged in, it's charging. And so when you need to go further than 15 feet, you can just unplug it, take it to where you need it, and then you can come back, plug it back in, and it'll work and charge at the same time. This thing is awesome. I have 2 of these, and being able to put them on either side of a project. They have a 1/4 inch thread on 3 sides, and so you can put it on a light stand vertically, or it's a wedge shape, and so you can put it and have it facing up at your project, so you can have it lower facing up at your project, and you can put it on a light stand either way, any of the 3 ways. And it's waterproof, and so it's not waterproof, it's water resistant, but I could wash it in the sink. And so I'll go into the sink and I'll wash it up. So when it's full of drywall compound, if it's full of paint, if it's full of whatever, I'll go to the sink and I'll wash it, and then it's good to go again. I really, really like this work light. And that is everything I have for you today. Again, these are all things that will make your life easier. These are all things that are going to make it so that you can fix your own appliances, you can fix your own plumbing, your own electrical, all the things that you need to take advantage of, all the things you need to be more self-reliant, more independent. These are all things that are going to make your life a lot easier. And if you're giving them as gifts, whoever you give them to is really going to appreciate it. There's a lot here. Some of it's more expensive than other things, but I tried to make affordable options, a little more expensive items. This is an expensive item. These are an affordable item. Check out the links in the description box down below, and I can't wait to see you on my next video.